Welcome to Art Accelerated's latest writer's reading with Karen Keltz. Karen has been published in Global Poematic, the North Coast Squid, the Dillydon Review, Posey, the Verse Weavers, and the Oregonian Rural Light, Green Prince, and HuffPost 50, among others. She's won awards for poetry, nonfiction, fiction, and screenwriting. Her middle grade novel, Sally Joe Survives Sixth Grade, is available on Amazon, and her second novel, Laurel Hedges and the Evil Lurker, is on the way. A former journalist and educator, she lives in Tillamook, Oregon, with her husband, cat, and garden full of indefeatable weeds and voles. She makes it a point to find joy and something to laugh about every day. And I have to say that that sense of humor is so appreciated by me because it makes me laugh too. So welcome to Karen.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you all for coming to hear a few of my poems. They span my writing lifetime from college days to now. They follow me from my first home in Northeastern Oregon to Southeastern Oregon, over the state to Tillamook. My first ever poem went like this. Some of my friends liked it so much, they remember it still almost 60 years later. Sea life. Verse 1. The octopus, like me and you, goes octo-pee and octo-poo and fills the ocean full of goo. Verse 2. The virgin sturgeon went fishing for compliments, not knowing that flattery gets you caviar. There was no way but up after that, right? My poems mostly have been about people, my own kind of Spoon River anthology. People I've seen, people I knew, people I lived with, ordinary people, but oh, so interesting. I hope someday to put them in a book so that you can know them too. I hope you enjoy meeting them. Waiting. In the Greyhound station, the old men sit, skeletons with sallow skins, their flies closed by safety pins. They clear their throats, spit at the brass pot in the corner. The creamy phlegm that misses aim glides down the wrinkled chins. They chew peanuts with toothless gums, search for dimes in the telephone booths, stare at the breasts and legs of young girls, and dream of bygone erections in the good old days. Al. Al Quillen brought my mother eggs. Daddy teased, "Look, mother, here's your boyfriend," then left to do his chores 10 acres away. Over coffee, Al and Mom spoke of canning, gardening, or chickens. We listened from the front room. Al hated kids. He used dirty words. We loved to hear him talk. His skin was tough and brown as leather in Daddy's slippers. He was sour and dry like spilled milk on the bottom shelf of the refrigerator. Going out the back door, he'd cough and spit, a splendid burnt tobacco spit over on the grass where afterwards nothing ever grew. Al had been in the wars. The American Legion buried him. He was survived by his wife, his chickens, and the biggest tomatoes in Union County. Losing face. At the bank one day when I was 7, I saw her. She had no nose, just 2 holes and scarred flesh. I gaped, awestruck, until my mother's slap warned me it was not nice to stare. She tried to kill herself, my mother said, but the bullet blew off her nose instead. Her exploded face magnetized me. Its hideous beauty, a story so awful, I requested the telling again and again, shuddering in horrid delight. Sometimes I pretended her nose to be there. Then she was pretty, but nothing to look at. This next poem is about a little girl that was in my sister's class when she was in the 2nd grade. And I just imagined myself in the classroom with the rest of them when I wrote this poem. Miasma. November's wind blows at the gate. Mid-morning math, she clumps in late. Her mother's heels with pointy toes, snot glissading from her nose. No socks to bundle blue-tinged skin, mud-splattered knees, scab-covered shins, ripped fingernails engulfed in crud, one scuffed-up elbow oozing blood. Long, tangled, ropey, flaxen hair falls over eyes that vacuous stare. Blind, but not blind. Dense or dumb? She rubs her crusty eye with thumb. Her azure satin dress, a wreck, hangs slack and filthy from her neck. Mid-calf it falls, ripped at the waist, stained pilgrim collar trimmed in lace. Our teacher sits her by the grate, no punishment for being late. She smiles at us. Our hearts are stone. We do our math, leave her alone. At recess time, she wants to play. We laugh at her and run away. Confused, she chases us, stops, stands, but we ignore her outstretched hands. Ghosts like her leave soon. We know. We hoard our love, dispense more woe. She's not there, nor her despair. Our hearts on hold, she turns to air. In 2nd grade, the boy I loved with the platinum hair had gone to recess, so I asked to stay in the classroom, sneaked to his desk and wrote KK and JS on his pink pearl eraser. When he returned, I said, I have a secret to tell you, then bent down and kissed him on the ear. He jumped up, yelling and slapping at his ear. His chair fell over, his face scrunched up like a dried apple. The pink pearl in his hand, my second affront, caused him to wail and wave it above his head in angry show and tell. Even though I was her favorite, Mrs. Carter sent me to the office where I waited out my sentence on the 6-foot walnut bench outside Mr. Lilly's opaque glass door, the word principal gold and serious. I had to buy the blonde boy a clean pink pearl. I was not sorry, ever. But 67 years later, I learned the blonde boy has gone to heaven, which is no recess to come back from. Now I am some kind of sad sorry for sure. Taking tally. I look out the window covered in clear white flower-flocked curtains. The yellowed shade down part way, its round pole dangling in the summer breeze, sieving itself through the screen. On the dresser, atop a crochet doily, sits a printed rose porcelain basin with a pitcher inside, not used now, but maybe when Grandma Eva was first married. This is her spare bedroom, and my sister and I are taking a nap. I should be anyway, but instead I'm listening to Grandpa Elam snore from his bed in the basement. through the giant heat register just outside the bedroom door. Grandma's in the front bedroom making no noise at all. We're all taking naps, beating the heat, except me. I wiggle off the bed and go stand on the register, even though I always worry it might collapse, leaving me smashed and splattered in the basement. In winter, my sister and I like to stand here in the forced airstream and watch our skirts blow up, wishing we could fly. I look over at the little ceramic girl in her red and blue toga standing on her rock, a starfish at her sandaled feet. The rock rests on another doily on the corner of the sideboard. She's latched onto a dirty gold blanket hanging down from her shoulder. I know she doesn't come from here. Her skin is brown and her hair is black. Her lips are red. She's looking at the ocean below her rock. Ever since I've known her, she's been looking. I want to tell her that when I grow up, I will go to where she's from with my brownie camera so I can take pictures and show her all is well back home. Back in bed, I think about the apple pie that's on the kitchen counter, ready to eat when we wake up. I think about the prickly pear jelly that's always on the table by the salt and pepper. I think about Grandma's tiny pink bathroom, its dollhouse-sized sink that fits in the corner, and the short square tub where I will take my bath later. All this thinking makes me tired, so I close my eyes and drift. I don't miss my parents at all, but I know all is not well back home. Okay. In this poem, this takes us to Southeastern Oregon, where I lived for a decade. And this is a true story. This is for George. As a youth, he had a dream of fetal freedom, to swim in the dark. Feverish with friends who shared his nighttime wish, like thieves on a dare, they sneaked over the fence. It was his idea. He would be the first to jump. A baseball soaring, a star descending, eyes full of stars and nothing more. He dived. The pool lay empty of all but shattered body, shards of dream. You've had it too, the dream of falling, the jolt awake. For a moment, you cannot move. He sits wheelchair bound in his house at the edge of the cliff, staring at the traffic below, each day and far into the dusk, counting cars. Eyes, when eyes are all you have left, are not enough. In the dead of night, when stars fall, he wishes one final leap, this time with eyes wide open. Reservation Road, 1975. One empty, perfectly good boot sits white with frost, untied in the middle of the road come morning. When you know men freeze to death sometimes walking the 2.5 miles home after the bars close, you wonder, is a doctor staring at a blackened, stinking, necrotic foot, juggling amputation with no insurance, undecided? Or worse, is there a body in the ditch alongside that's gone unseen in death as in life? I want someone to care and see them safe. See. My stomach churns its 1/16 Native American, but mostly white woman, so secondhand rage. I just want them to be warm, sitting in the leather armchairs in front of raised stone fireplace in the Ford showroom, munching on teriyaki sticks and Pauline's cookies. Sit by the fire a while, I want to say. It's a long walk home. And then here, South Prairie, May 4th. The clouds in the mist of early morning, skirting the craggy peaks, hugging the clefts, remind me of the china I see in coffee table photo books. Through the mist, I can just imagine a lake of silvered mirror, a sampan cruising on the ledge between mountains up and mountains down, its wake snaking behind. A man, skull in hand, pushes against the waveless water, black pajama sleeve flapping. He has caught enough fish for dinner. His wife waits, ready with breakfast, jasmine tea and street dumplings, love in her heart. Little gray snake. You surprised me there at the fringe of the burn pile. 0 at the bone, Emily said, but then you didn't move. I poked last season's dead twig at you, but you didn't budge, stuck there in mid-wriggle, your eyes the double X's cartoonists use to depict death. I have forensic questions. Did you die of carbon monoxide poisoning or smoke inhalation in a hole under the brush where you had thought yourself safe? Or did you die coming out of your hole, encountering heat and flame? Or did you slither by mistake onto hot coals and choose the wrong direction for your escape, foraging deeper into the conflagration? Were you always gray, the color of the ashes you lie upon, the smoke you breathed, or did your skin and scales change with the heat? Now, you look like a plastic replica sold at Flamingo Gyms, and so tired of life's events, the way I'll go soon. The dark side. In morning's shade and a cool breeze, I moved rocks. My excavations revealed life on the dark side. Slugs resting up for their nighttime gorging. A pregnant spider scrambling to reach the first sighting board of the shop and safety. A mothership of a sow bug and too many babies to count. Suppressed roots of grass and weeds. How calm it must have seemed before my robbery. How cool and safe. Transmogrification. If left to my own devices, I'd become a flower lady. You know, one of those who, like cat ladies, would have all kinds of breeds and species hanging about everywhere, on counters, mantles, backs of sofas, on end tables, under end tables, on the windowsill, looking out, yawning, stretching, and purring, showing off their pistils, petals, and stamens, tubers and spores, and smiling at the day. If you came to visit, they'd sit in your lap. Tulips, lilies, roses, and dahlias, and one little iris to sniff and nibble at your ear. Reading Facebook in bed. You click on LeGrand, Oregon Memories, and someone has posted a bare brown hill sporting a few sparse evergreens and wants identification. So you write the name and click because you remember. The gas station below it, called 5 Points, where back behind there was a dancing bear in a cage, and you asked your dad for 5 cents to go for a closer look, and he said no, because animals should not be caged and it was old and mangy, which is why the circus sold it to the gas station owner, hoping to make $1 5 cents at a time. And he was damned if he would add to its misery. So you got in the car full of gas and your father drove away, you looking at the bear in the cage with clusters of people crowded around eyeballing it, people who had 5 cents of their own. And you kept looking until the road rounded, and that good long look is why you remember the hill. But when you look at the post again, 5 other people identify the hill their way, and you know they're wrong, but memories, huh? And so you close your iPad, roll over to go to sleep, and think of how your father was right. The Red House. Don't ask me the name of our street, some tree name, alder, aspen, oak. The FFA barn across the street spewed boys beating their cattle to make them mind. My father shook his head. They don't understand, he said. Beating never works. Yet, the day I didn't come home right after school, he whooshed his belt through his waistband loops, doubled it in his palm, and whacked my butt while I screamed and learned for the first time how to hate. I thought about how lucky it was to be a cow in my father's pasture. Sweet, sweet comfort. At our mother's funeral, we all talk about the giant ceramic bowl, beige with circular stripes of orange and blue, that held enough dough for 6 loaves of bread made every Monday. That was its everyday use, but we adored the bowl the most on other special days. When there was a surplus of milk and we heard our mother in the kitchen at night after dishes were done, when she usually watched TV. Oh, we hoped. Such a clattering of silverware drawer, banging pot and spoon, the rubbery slam on the Kelvinator door, the sugar bin hinges squeaking open, brittle pings of hardness hitting the measuring cup, the whoosh of liquid into the canning pot. We knew and rushed into the kitchen for verification. Sure enough, by the light of the stove clock on our mother's face, a sweet, creamy, warm gift was being born. Tapioca pudding. Decades later, we still recall with delight that bowl, 3 gallons full of bumpy wonder. Canis Mala. In my later years, I have become more like a bad dog. I bark at people who annoy me. I neither sit nor stay, but have taken to roaming from room to room in a circle, not remembering the reason why, or if there ever was one, before I curl up and nest. I nest more than once a day. My legs shake in my dreams. I wake up and whimper and want to go pee. All night long, it's this way. Sleep and wake, stretch and pee, sheets in a tangle, slobber on my pillow. All I've buried, and old bones on my mind. And finally, a warning. Beware of children who watch you without saying a word. They are calculating photographers, imprinting on their memories your life for future reference. Beware of children watching. They remember everything and write poems. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Karen. And just a quick thank you to the Oregon Cultural Trust for making this possible with their COVID grant, and to the Oregon Community Foundation for their support as well. So thank you very much.